A very good day to one and all present here. Thank you all for joining us in this ManageEngine's Endpoint Management and Security Virtual Seminar of 2020. And introduce myself first. My name is Nisha Balaji. I'm a product marketing specialist associated with the Security Suite of Solutions. And today, for this seminar session, if you have any questions or queries, you can always reach out in the question section or via the chat box. You can also reach out to me personally via email to my email ID, which is nisha.b@manageengine.com. So here we are in today's topic, which is managing and securing all the endpoints in your hybrid work environment. So before we move into today's topic, let me quickly run through the controls of this GoToWebinar panel. So you have the question section and also chat section where you can post any queries or questions if you have. We have technical experts connected here who can answer or clarify any of your questions. We also have a handout section where you can find our ebooks and infographics. Now, during the seminar, we'll also be running through a few polls to just get an idea of how things are in your organization's network. So with this note, let me proceed into today's session. So here is a quick brief of what we'll be going through in today's events. First up, we'll be starting with an introduction on how we are adapting to the new norms of endpoint management. Then we'll have a brief session on how we can address the existing and also future endpoint management complications. Post these sessions, we'll take a quick break and come back where our cybersecurity expert Kartika will be joining us and giving us a brief on how to combat endpoint security challenges. We'll also have a detailed view of all ManageEngine's endpoint management and security suite of solutions. Finally, we'll have a 20-minute brief QA session where both me and Kartika will be available to take up any of your questions. And during the session, you can always sign up for a one-to-one technical session with our expert who will walk you through the entire product that you're interested in. So with this note, let us all start off and see how we are adapting to the new norms of endpoint management. This is almost every organization's IT network. Don't you agree? As soon as COVID-19 pandemic settled in, almost 90% of the organizations across the globe went completely remote. So this has expanded every organization's IT network. But this has raised a few concerns, especially for IT administrators and sysadmins. Why is this so? Because there are multiple problems or complications which are associated when a whole of organization's devices and users are moving to a remote culture. What do you think would be the primary concern of every organization's IT admins? The answer is quite simple. It is to ensure that all these devices are secure and under the control in between their network. So what do we mean by endpoint? Let us start off with this basic question. Is it just your desktops or say laptops? But beyond that, what I consider an endpoint is that any and every device that we use to access our corporate data and perform our day-to-day tasks is an endpoint, right? So when I say endpoint, I will definitely include desktops, laptops, your mobile devices and tablets. Now this might include both your corporate owned and also your personally owned devices. Along with this, you have your servers and point of sale devices. Now here, if you see, I would have included browsers. You may be wondering why. Well, most of us would know that browsers are the entry point of most of the cyber attacks. So it is extremely necessary that we secure and manage browsers as much as we secure all other endpoints. So when it comes to a remote work environment or adapting to this new normal, we have a diverse mix of users present in almost every organization. So here are three common types of users which you would find mostly in even your organization. Now the first type of users are those who usually have a VPN access configured. Now when organizations are shifting to a complete remote environment, you will have to configure a VPN access. But for this first type of users, mostly say people who are on the go, the sales team members, the on-site support technicians, they are mostly outside the network, which means they have a regular VPN access configured and they have a separate set of security policies configured for them. So you won't have a lot of difference when all of these users move to a remote network. Now, the second type of users are those predominantly like me, who are used to working or being on-premise, and now we have shifted to this remote environment. So it is for users like us that IT administrators will have to modify your existing security policies, configure a new VPN access for us. There are other organizations who have cloud-based applications. So these users do not require a specific VPN access configured for them because they can access most of their corporate data from these cloud-based applications. So I'm sure even in your organization, you will have a diverse mix of all these three types of users. So when we speak about remote work, let us also address the basic challenges that everyone will find when you're moving to a work from home environment. First and foremost, undeniably, is cybersecurity. This is the major concern of every IT administrator. But after that, if you see, IT administrators will also have a very difficult time in managing these devices, ensuring that they have a proper firewall configured, ensuring that these devices are within the communicable level. A device, if it moves out of the network, you cannot deploy a proper patch, update the applications regularly. So such type of complications might arise. There is also cases where you will find it difficult to remotely troubleshoot such endpoints which are out of the network. One more major challenge that every IT administrator might face is monitoring your employee productivity. We'll be discussing about this in detail in the upcoming sessions. So, with these being in mind, what do you think is the future of endpoint management? Well, let me tell you, it involves two different sectors. One is managing the increasing number of remote devices. This remote work environment is in for the longer run. More and more organizations are adapting this work from home option as a permanent solution. So IT administrators will have to learn a way around to manage all these devices effectively. And the other one is those users and these devices which move back to your office premises. There are few challenges which are associated with such endpoints as well. An IT administrator will have to take keynote to manage both these complications. And so what would be the solution? Here again, I have just two classifications. One is to have a complete management and security layer interlinked with each other. And the next best option, which I'm sure most of you would be aware of, moving to a complete cloud-based network. So we will be seeing how we can use all these solutions, and so you can learn to prepare all your IT network and your organization's network for not just this new normal, but for all future normals. This is going to be the brief of what we'll be seeing for today. So with this note, let me all take you into today's first session, which is addressing all endpoint management complications. Here's a quick overview of what you will be seeing through for the next 60 minutes. First up, we'll have a clear, or say a deeper view of all your work from home devices. Then, as I promised before, we'll also see the complications that are associated when your devices move back to your office network. Then we will see what are the recent challenges that are present, or what more challenges can you expect in case of monitoring and managing your endpoints. We'll also see the recent trends that are there across the globe and how you can choose the right tools to manage all your endpoints effectively. So in short, I will be giving you a complete action plan for your complete network endpoint management. This will be the agenda for this session. So before we move on and start off with this session, I have a quick question for all of you. So on your screen, you will see a poll question. What endpoints do you use to get your work done? I'll wait for a couple of seconds for you all to answer. Okay, I'm getting a lot of responses. So here, let me end this poll. Here, almost 53% of you say that you predominantly use a laptop and occasionally a smartphone to perform your corporate work or corporate data. So let us have a deeper look on how you can manage all your work from home devices, be it your laptop or your smartphones. Specifically, when it comes to a work from home scenario or a remote work environment, what are the major challenges that you'll be facing? Well, I've classified this into three categories. The first challenge comes when you're enabling a work from home environment for all these devices. As we saw before, configuring VPN is one major challenge that every IT administrator will face when your usual on-prem users move to a remote environment. But other than this, you also have challenges like your remote users' internet bandwidth. Post-enabling, you also have issues while managing your work from home devices. So when you have a remote work situation in place, you will have complications when you want to add new devices to your network, or usually in today's organizations, most of them are using your BYOD policy. So you will have to ensure that new personally owned devices are added to your office network and manage all these devices, secure them effectively. Also, you need to make sure that you provide proper privileges to each user in every device that they use. Then comes the major part, which is securing all these devices. You will have to be on a constant lookout for any kind of vulnerabilities that may arise in any of your endpoints. Ensure that all these vulnerabilities are immediately patched as and when detected. So this involves securing your browsers, ensuring there is no data leaks, protecting and controlling all your application and devices. So this is what we see when you move to a remote work environment. Now, as I said, there are organizations who are slowly moving back to offices. Now, these users or these devices too may pose a certain kind of threat. Let us see what these complications are. First and foremost is the device communication issues. These devices would have been away from the network or out of communication from the server for a very long time, which means you will have to ensure that proper communication and control is enabled on these devices. Certain applications which are present on these particular devices may be out of your organization's compliance. Say in case you have provided privileges to your end users to automatically download and install any and every application. So when they come back to your network, before you admit these devices into your network, you will have to ensure that a proper scan is run through and all your blacklisted or prohibited applications are uninstalled from all of these devices. Also, you will have to check to see if any of these endpoints are compromised or are vulnerable to any kind of cyber attacks. Ensure that proper patches are deployed to secure all your devices. So these are few complications which you see are associated with those devices which move back to your office network. So here, let me quickly stop you and give you a short fact. Did you know that around March-April 2020, more than 192,000 COVID-related cyber attacks were reported each week? This is a 30% increase in the number of reported cyber attacks as compared to the pre-coronavirus. Businesses now are at a greater risk of falling victim to cybercrime due to the large-scale growth of work from home or customer-facing networks being exploited by cyber criminals. According to this source, which is Data Connectors Research, cyber attackers can spread at 9 times the rate of COVID-19. They also say that this can lie dormant for months while they spread. So as researchers term this as cyber pandemics, these can spread faster and much further than a biological virus, with equal or even greater economical impact. They estimate a global loss of internet which would cost about $50 billion per day. So what do these facts tell you? You have endpoint management problems present in your everyday times. So here we are to be on a keen lookout or watch out for these type of endpoint management problems. First and foremost on my list is checking the access to your corporate resources. So as we discussed before, most of the devices which have been moved to a remote location have been granted a VPN access at a network level. Now, even if one of these endpoints is compromised, it means your entire network security might be compromised. Also, you need to ensure that you exercise proper restrictions to the use of your external devices or any resources that are accessed. Next major concern comes with your BYOD device security and management. Almost 60% of the organizations across the globe allow employee-owned devices to access their networks. With this pandemic being in place, almost 90% of the organizations allow this BYOD policy. Employees too prefer to perform their corporate tasks from their personally owned devices. But using your BYOD devices has its own set of complications. You will have to restrict access to any of your personal and corporate data if required. Now, in case any of your personal data is misplaced or stolen, you will have to ensure or take proper measures to see that all your corporate data is completely wiped off this device. So an IT administrator's task doubles up, not just to manage your usual devices, but also to extend security to all your personal devices as well. Next on my list, which I state as a complication, is your applications management. Now, with the work from home scenario being in place, IT administrators might have granted permissions to your end users to install their very own applications. So as stated before, when they come back to your office network, there you will have a problem where you see that your blacklisted or unauthorized applications may be on your corporate devices. So this use of such prohibited applications should be banned from all your devices. So you will have to restrict the access for your end users to automatically install the application all by themselves. Here, I have one more quick question for you through the poll. Do you all require your users to connect to VPN to access your corporate data? Or do most of you have cloud-based solutions? I'll wait for a couple of seconds for you all to answer this poll question. I'll wait for a few more seconds. So let me end this poll with 50% of you saying that you need all your users to connect to VPN to access your corporate data. So there comes a major concern where you will have to manage and restrict the privileges that you provide to your end users. Providing root credentials or your default administrative credentials when it is not required may be harmful for your network. they may have the access to your complete organization's network. So as I said before, even if one of these endpoints is compromised, it can bring down the entire security layer of your organization. So this is one major concern that every IT administrator should address immediately. Here is one thing that I'm sure all of us are familiar. Delay in the deployment of any patches or OS updates or any kind of patches to prevent any vulnerabilities. This may result in the collapse of your entire organization's security layer. So IT administrators will have to work around the clock to ensure that all the devices are in contact with your server and ensure that every critical patch is pushed as and when the devices contact your network. One more challenge, as I said in the very beginning, is with respect to remote troubleshooting. With the remote work scenario being in place, there is a huge increase in the number of help desk tickets. So this means IT administrators are working around the clock to confirm or continue the troubleshooting process. Now here, there may be chances where there are miscommunications during this troubleshooting process. If you're on premise, you can just directly walk up to your IT administrator to say that you have a particular error, and your IT administrator can resolve the issue in a matter of seconds. Now this, you will have to go through multiple tickets, emails, and then voice and video calls and chat, all to troubleshoot just one issue. I'm sure every IT administrator present here can relate to this particular scenario. So let me tell you a quick fact here. Did you all know? According to Gartner's research, by the end of 2030, the demand for remote workforce is going to increase by 30%, which means this work from home environment or this remote work culture, as I said before, is here for the longer run. This is part of the future of endpoint management. Let us also see what are the other recent trends that have been developing in this endpoint management sector. The very first one is zero trust network access. The COVID pandemic has highlighted many of the problems with the traditional VPN. Emerging zero trust network access enables enterprises to control remote access to specific applications. Now, this is a more secure option as it hides the application from the internet. So the zero trust network communicates only with the service provider and can be accessed only from the provider's cloud service. This especially reduces the risk of an attacker piggybacking on the VPN connection to attack other applications. Next on my list is the automating process of security. The availability of automation within security tools have driven the use of more security process automation. This technology automates computer-centric security operation tasks based on predefined rules and templates. So which means your security tasks can be performed much faster in a scalable way and with very few errors. However, there are diminishing returns to building and maintaining this automation. But now, global leaders can invest in automation projects that help to eliminate repetitive tasks that consume a lot of time, leaving more time to focus on more critical security functions. Another emerging trend with respect to endpoint management is analyzing your user behavior. Once someone's username and passwords are compromised, whoever has them can waltz onto a network and engage in all kinds of malicious behavior, right? This behavior can trigger a red flag to system defenders if they are employing this user behavior analytics. This technology is used to identify anomalous behavior by a user. Once an attacker gains entry into an enterprise, what happens then? One of the first things that they do is compromise the credentials. So to prevent this from happening, a complete visibility into the network is required. Comparing a user's present behavior to the past behavior is one way to identify a malicious actor. There's also something called peer analysis. This compares how someone is behaving compared to people with the same manager or from the same department. So this can indicate that a person is doing something that they shouldn't be, or if someone else has compromised their particular account. Here's another fact for all of you. According to a source from Risk-Based, data breaches exposed are 4.1 billion records only in the first half of 2020. And the average time to identify a data breach was 7 months. So this states that data breaches and how much privacy is a major concern in every industry. And privacy is not just a part of any compliance or a legal or auditing team. Privacy is now becoming extremely influential, defining our own discipline, affecting almost all aspects of an organization. As a rapidly growing standalone discipline, privacy needs to be more integrated throughout the organization. Specifically, privacy discipline co-directs the corporate strategy and as such needs to closely align with security, procurement, HR, legal governance, and much more. Now, this is one that all of us are familiar, which is adapting to a cloud-based environment. Cloud-delivered security services and endpoint management are growing increasingly popular now, especially with the evolution of remote office technology. Software as a service technology allows organizations to better protect mobile workers and cloud applications by routing traffic through a cloud-based security stack, which is backhauling the traffic so that it flows through a physical security system in a data center. So here, let me ask you all one more question through the poll. How many tools do you use to manage your endpoints? You can answer this question from the poll shown on your screen. I'll wait again for a couple of seconds for your responses. Well, let me end this poll with close to 70% of the people saying that they are using up to 3 types of tools for endpoint management. But It is frightening to see that almost 30% of the people are using almost above 4 number of tools to manage the endpoints. But what do you think is the average number of tools that an IT administrator uses? This is the number. Almost every IT administrator uses 8 different tools to manage and secure their organization's endpoints. It's a big number, isn't it? So here, let us see what it takes to manage your endpoints and what are the tools available in the market and how endpoint management tools have evolved through the time. Endpoint management started off as client management tools. Post this, with the inclusion of BYOD devices, you had enterprise mobility management, which is EMM. With the increase of mobile devices in the network, your smartphones and tablets gave birth to a new solution called mobile device management. Now, comprising all the capabilities of your traditional client management, your enterprise mobility management, and your mobile device management, a single holistic solution is available. And this is called UEM, Unified Endpoint Management. So a single UEM solution can provide you 360-degree capabilities to manage all your network endpoints from one single centralized location. How would you choose such a UEM tool? Well, the answer is quite simple. You need to get a tool which can perform both your security tasks, like say managing your licenses, your asset management, your browser management, and your management tasks both proactively and reactively. So when you choose such endpoint management tools, another major concern that every organization will have in mind is to ensure that all your tools comply to the mandates and compliances which are specified across the globe. Let me give you a brief on few popular compliances which I'm sure almost all of you would have come across. The very first or most popular compliance is the GDPR. The General Data Protection and Regulation has now passed a second-year mark, and with that, the European Commission has issued its first evaluation report highlighting the progress it made, the challenges encountered, and the objectives for moving forward. Additionally, the GDPR has proved itself to be a flexible regulation in support of digital solutions during this coronavirus pandemic. These days, when a substantial portion of the workforce are being asked to work from home, the requirement for robust data privacy and protection is needed now more than ever. GDPR offers guidance, support, and standards as the world follows its new routine in response to COVID-19. Closely following GDPR is the POPI Act. The Protection of Personal Information Act puts South Africa's data regulation standards on par with existing data protection laws around the world. The POPI Act is considered to mirror GDPR compliance requirements. One more here on the list is the NIST compliance with the Special Publication 800171. Now, this is an important set of guidelines that aims to ensure safety and confidentiality of sensitive federal data. Any organization that stores, processes, or transmits CUI for the Department of Defense, NASA, or any federal or state agency must be in compliance with this NIST rule. You also have HIPAA compliances, which are specifically designed for healthcare providers and organizations. So this is what we see when we try to look up to new endpoint management tools. Here we have a new action plan for managing all your endpoints effectively. From ManageEngine's point of view, we offer a wide range of products for endpoint management and security. So in today's session, I will be using one or two of these products to show how easily you can perform certain endpoint management tasks, which is one of few clicks from your console. The very first step, when you have be it either a work from home situation or it is back to office, the one major concern that every IT administrator will face is onboarding new devices. So here I've charted just 4 simple steps for onboarding your new devices. The very first step is automating your OS deployment for all your brand new devices. OS imaging and deployment is not a Herculean task as most of us think. On the contrary, it's just a 3 simple step process. The first and foremost step is to create an OS image, and then you customize this image as and how required for your particular organization. The third step is selecting your target computers and deploying this OS image. Let me quickly take you to ManageEngine's Desktop Central, a complete UEM solution, and show how easily an image of Windows 10 operating system can be deployed to new devices. This is the product console. So here, as I said, the very first step is creating an OS image. Click on Create Image. Select one default computer from which you want to create an OS image. Say you have a computer present, or you can choose to insert a new computer's details and credentials. Select the partitions that you want to image, and also in case you want to shrink these partitions, you can choose to go ahead. And finally, you can click on Create Image. I've already created one such image. So here you see your image details will be as shown. Now your second step is customizing this image accordingly. So to customize this, here in Desktop Central, you will have to create a template. Associate the image that you have created, select the partitions that you want to deploy, and then completely customize settings as to how your image has to be deployed. Your post-deployment actions, either if you want to back up your user profile and deploy it, you can choose to do so. Also, in case you want to deploy certain business applications, you can simultaneously add applications here while you are creating an image and deploying it to your target computers. So this will be your second step. Your third and final step is to create a task and deploy this particular customized image. As you can see, I have an image here. Choose your remote offices. Select your deployment mode, whether it's going to be through your passcode or through your MAC addresses, and instantly create this deployment task. So with just these three simple steps, you can create and deploy an OS to all your target computers. Now, once you deploy the OS, the next step is to install your essential business applications. So as I said, you can choose to automatically install applications while you want to deploy this particular OS, or you can independently create templates and application packages to deploy these applications to your target computers. Now, when it comes to managing these applications, you can ensure that only your enterprise approved applications are present in your end user's device. So for this to happen, you will have to restrict access to all your end users to automatically install their own applications. But then your end users might require few other applications which is not provided by default. How can this be simplified? Well, the answer is quite simple. You have an option called self-service portal, where you can choose to publish packages to your end users. So what will this do? Your end users will have a list of applications displayed for them. All of these are approved by you, your IT administrators. So your end users will simply have to click on install and directly install applications to their devices. In case there are any blacklisted applications in your network, you can choose to prohibit such applications and by default uninstall these applications from your network. Create a prohibited software list. Ensure that you have the auto uninstall policy enabled. And after a day or two, these applications will automatically be removed from your network. So this is with respect to managing your applications. Here, let me throw another quick fact. Did you know that according to a research from the University of Maryland, hackers attack every 39 seconds, which is on an average 2,200 times a day. What does this tell us? We will have to take basic steps to ensure that proper security policies are present. So for this, when you are onboarding your new devices, you will have to ensure that you deploy your basic security configurations, be it imposing your password policies, strengthening your firewalls, and as such. So to deploy these security configurations, these can be done in one go, where you can use the collections feature present in Desktop Central. So say I want to deploy a computer collection, I can choose as many policies as I require. Say I'm going to choose my firewall, secure USBs, and other basic security policies, and file folder operation, all of these. So once I choose them, I can customize this as required for my network. Say I'm going to choose my secure USB options. I can choose to either block or unblock certain other applications or devices which are present. So as you customize your collections, with one click, you can deploy them to your target computers, be it for your new devices or for your existing endpoints. The final step when you're onboarding your new device is to ensure that proper compliance checks are done. With Desktop Central, this again is a one-click process. In the product, you have an option which is called your DPO dashboard. So here, you will have a complete overview of all the data in your endpoints, be it your application control, your device management, your browser management, and your firewall rules that are present. Also, to check if this product itself is in compliant with the basic guidelines that are specified, you can click on the product compliance and go ahead with all the details that are provided. Here, let me throw another quick question via the poll to all of you. Do you access your corporate network from your personal devices? I'll give a couple of seconds for all of you to answer. Let me end this poll with almost 70% of you saying that you do use your personally owned devices to access your corporate data. So here, as we discussed before, IT administrators' task doubles up when they have to manage your BYOD devices. Managing your BYOD devices is not a Herculean task. You can follow very simple steps to manage your corporate owned mobile devices and also your BYOD devices. Let me quickly show how this can be done. So to manage and secure your BYOD devices, you can simply create policies and profiles to ensure that proper restrictions are implemented. As you can see, here I'm going to create a new profile for my devices. Say it's going to be Android device. Now you will have number of options to restrict your passcodes or implement other restrictions based on your device functionality, security details, your display settings, or configuring your Wi-Fi or VPN access. So with all these settings available, you will just have to customize this profile according to your needs and get it shared to your particular devices. Also, another added advantage of having a UEM tool to manage your BYOD devices is that you can ensure that a proper segregation is set in place to not touch any of your private data. Next step is that you can ensure that you have a proper geo-tracking enabled. So if your device moves out of your desired location, or if it's jailbroken or stolen, you can ensure or set that a complete wipe is taking place in this particular device. So this will make sure that any and every data in that corporate data in that particular device can be wiped off, and hence your network security can be ensured. When we talk about BYOD devices, one topic that we should definitely be touching upon is modern management. Modern management reimagines the way that we think about managing laptops, desktops, mobile devices, and it also streamlines all traditional operations such as your asset management, deploying of software or be it patches, auditing your software, securing your applications, etc. All of this from a single interface. Now, this is all about creating a flexible workplace. Traditional IT is what administrators have been following religiously for years, and it takes a device-centric approach. A corporate-owned device is issued to employees, and only these are permitted to join the corporate network for accessing corporate applications or services. This implies that the remediation of IT issues is reactive and not proactive. Now organizations are changing their view on traditional device management and emphasize on user self-service to meet the continuously changing requirements across departments. With modern management techniques in place, policies are targeted at end users and takes a user-centric approach. In this case, the remediation of IT issues is proactive. Let me throw in another quick fact for all of you. Did you know that on an average, IT admins receive 25 help desk tickets a day? Now, with this remote work culture implemented, IT administrators work extra 2.5 hours on an average to resolve remote troubleshooting issues. So as we saw before, remote troubleshooting is a challenge on its own for IT administrators. But then this too can be simplified when you have a proper troubleshooting tool in place. One click to access your remote control. How does this sound? Well, it is possible when you have a complete troubleshooting tool in place. With a proper remote control solution, you can gain unattended remote access. Not just that, you can transfer files dynamically during a live session. And with such remote troubleshooting tool, you can simultaneously collaborate with your end users via chat or be it voice and video calls. Not many of the tasks actually require end users to take a complete remote session, which means if you just want to access their control panel or lock up their desktops or mobile devices where you perform the task, you can do so without taking a complete remote session. Also, say in case you want to deploy a patch or a software update immediately for a critical vulnerability or an exploit. In such cases, you can broadcast announcements through such a UEM tool as well. So this is a simple kind of action plan to manage all your endpoints effectively. The next step is to boost the productivity of your end users. So here we have just few simple tips that I can provide to all of you. The very first point is having a complete ID asset visibility into the network. So with Desktop Central, as most of you would be aware of, you can get a complete view of all the hardware and software details that are present in the network. Complete data of each and every endpoint. So this will give you a complete idea of what is happening in the network, if any malicious application is present, or if any new device is entered into the network. All of this can be detected. Next, to monitor your users' productivity. Say your users are mostly using your corporate devices, be it your laptops, to perform applications other than your business does, but during your business hours. This might hinder your employees' productivity. So you can go through the report section, have a view on the user log on and log off reports, the power management reports of each device. Also, you can monitor the usage of every application in the network. Now, say for example, you have uTorrent in your network and your users use it to download games and movies all the time. You can ensure that you create a software metering rule where you can get complete detailed analysis of the applications and for what duration the applications are used. So in case you feel that a non-productive application is present, based on this data, you can blacklist such applications. Also, with a proper browser management tool, you can monitor your users' web activity. So with just these simple steps, you can monitor and ensure that you have high user productivity in your organization. Here, I have one more quick question to all of you. Do you all believe in a unified approach to IT network management? You will find this question on the poll shown on your screen. I'll wait for a couple of seconds for your responses. I'll wait for a few more seconds. So let me end this poll with close to 60% of you answering that you're exploring tools to manage your dual workforce, be it managing your remote environment and also your back to office environments. Now, when you are looking out for such a solution, you will also have to understand what does UEM hold for us in the future. We have seen that endpoint management has evolved through client management, enterprise mobility management, with the inclusion of mobile device management and modern management capabilities. All of this are incorporated in UEM. So what next for a unified endpoint management solution? I'm sure most of you would have guessed the answer to this one. Of course, it's hosting a complete UEM solution in cloud. A cloud-based UEM solution can give you a number of advantages. For one, it can eliminate the cost of a physical infrastructure. Also, you can bypass the need for any of additional security components. Say you have an on-premise solution, you will always have to have a backup server or ensure that you have a proper security layer implemented to protect your primary server. All of these can be eliminated when you have a cloud-based UEM solution. In case you are using an on-premise solution of ours, be assured that the migration process of your on-premise to your cloud solution will be in just a few clicks. Being a cloud-based solution or hosting a UEM solution on cloud can eliminate all your network level and device communication issues. And you can also ensure that a physical protection is present at the data centers. Here's another quick stat that I would like to give you all. By the end of 2020, security services are expected to account for 50% of cybersecurity budgets. So what does this tell us? Be it an on-premise or a cloud-based UEM solution, an endpoint management solution is incomplete without a security layer. Management and security are always interlinked with one another. Be it deploying your patches, your remote access, or your application control, all of these will fall under both security and management. So which is why I would tell you that endpoint management is an everyday battle. But the primary question here is how prepared is your organization to adapt not just this new normal, but all future normals that might arise in the network. Thank you all for joining us in this session. You can always sign up for a one-to-one technical session with our technical expert and do participate in our upcoming polls as well. We have the handout section present. You can check out our ebooks and infographics. Thank you all once again. In case you have any questions regarding this session, do post them on the chat or in the questions section. You can reach out to me via email. It's nisha.b@manageengine.com. We'll be taking a quick break and we'll be coming back in 15 minutes with the next session, which will focus on endpoint security.
Hello everyone. Hope you're all keeping safe and sound. Thank you for joining our seminar on endpoint management and security. I hope you enjoyed the previous session on management. Welcome to the second session on endpoint security. I'm Kartika and I will be presenting this session. I'm a product specialist at ManageEngine and work predominantly with the endpoint security suite of products. Since this line of work comes with closely following cybersecurity trends, I'm going to share my observations regarding the same with you guys today. The COVID-19 pandemic brought a ton of changes to our lifestyle. That's true. But it wouldn't be an understatement if I say businesses were hit the most with these changes. Across the globe, businesses had to transition to a remote work environment almost overnight. Work from home, what was once nice to have for employees and companies, became a must-have almost overnight. As the transition happened, organizations had to adapt and evolve their cybersecurity approach, solutions, and policies to enable their employees to work remotely, access company resources securely, and ensure business continuity. A lot of this happened on a trial and error basis. So it's important that we take a step back and analyze the changes made and their consequences in order to effectively create a security plan for the future. So, in today's session, we're going to take a look back at the challenges faced in transitioning to remote work and the related surge in cybercrimes. We're going to take the learnings from past experiences and look forward to securing a distributed workforce in the future. We will also be discussing the need for a focused shift to endpoint security and the necessity to bring endpoint management and security together. Post this, I will give you a brief overview of the array of products we have at ManageEngine, specially curated to help deal with your cybersecurity problems. Feel free to ask questions anywhere during the session. I have a panel with me who will be answering the questions during the session. We will also have a dedicated Q&A towards the end. Let's keep the session as interactive and lively as possible. Though I'm not able to see my audience for the day, I'm guessing we have a mix of cybersecurity beginners, experts, and enthusiasts among us. To help me know my crowd for the day a little better, please take up this poll. It is just to give an idea about how aware you guys are of the cyber attacks and threats around you. So I'll be starting the poll now. You can see the poll question on your screens. Do go and put down your answers, guys. I'm going to wait a few seconds for you to vote. All right, so I'll be closing the poll now. Most of you have voted. So as you can see on this screen, about 75% of you are very well updated. That's real nice. I can see that most of you are very well aware of the threats around us. This is really great, you guys. Let's put down increased cybersecurity awareness as one of the good things that came out of this pandemic. So most of us are aware of the steep increase in cyber crimes during the pandemic, as we saw from the polls. But what you guys might not be aware of is that the global cybercrime damages are predicted to cost up to $6 trillion annually by 2021. So, how do you not get caught in this landslide? It's simple. Take in the right information and act on it quickly. Post-COVID, we have seen rapid increase in ransomware. As you can see, ransomware attacks have gone up by 800%. We also have an increase in insider attacks, among others. But do you know what surprised me? The causes of such ransomware attacks. Phishing emails, lack of training, and weak passwords were stated as the top causes of ransomware attack. Weak passwords, you guys. Can you imagine something as basic as that halting your business and productivity for 12 to 16 days together? But this is a fact, and figures don't lie. We have had cyber crimes since the insurgence of computers. But what's really concerning is that they have increased by 400% post-COVID. Now this warrants a look into what might have caused such an insurgence of cybercrimes. So here is a starter list of the major challenges to security posed by COVID-19. So as we all know, the sudden shift to remote work was not fun or smooth. IT admins found themselves grappling with getting their devices work from home ready. On top of which, they had to deal with employees using their own devices and internet. Increasing VPN bandwidth became the top priority, while securing devices from a whole range of new COVID-inspired cyber attacks took up most of the time. Now, we're going to analyze these challenges and come up with takeaways to ensure a better prepared IT team. So Cisco had run a survey on over 3,000 IT decision makers from around the world to get a pulse of how they were dealing with the sudden remote transition. The results by themselves are pretty revealing. As you can see, over 43% of the workforce moved remote overnight, and less than half of the organizations were prepared to handle it. The major challenge, of course, was VPN bandwidth issues. Though most organizations had VPN availability, they were never meant to handle everyone working remotely at a time. So IT admins now had problems running routine patch and other software deployment tasks. On top of this, they had to curb employees from using bandwidth-intensive applications like YouTube when connected to VPN. This brings us to the first lesson learned: prioritizing security tasks and allocating the available resources accordingly. So we at ManageEngine had advised our users and prospects during the beginning of the lockdown to selectively patch critical and important applications and to avoid bulky updates such as cumulative updates and feature packs in order to save the bandwidth without compromising on security. It is also a good idea to restrict access to bandwidth-intensive sites that are not critical for business and to educate employees regarding VPN usage. For our next takeaway, I need your help. I'm going to run another poll. Tell me, guys, what posed the maximum challenge to protect in a remote environment? So I'll be starting the poll right now. So you can find the poll on your screens. Do go and put in your answers there so that we can move on to our next takeaway. I'm going to wait a few seconds for you guys to vote. That's really nice. Most of you are participating and voting. All right, I'm going to close the polls now. So as you can see from the results, we have an equal amount of people saying office laptops and desktops, personal devices, and corporate data. You know, the results here are perfectly in sync with the trends as well. Did you know that 16 billion records have been exposed this year? Too many numbers? Let's try putting it differently. 8.4 billion records have been exposed in the first quarter of 2020 alone. Guess how much of an increase this is compared to last year? 50%? Maybe 100%? Well, not even close, you guys. This is a 273% increase in comparison with the first half of 2019. 273% increase in data breaches in 1 year. Imagine that. This brings us to our next lesson. Equip yourselves with software that will ensure security in a bring your own device or bring your own internet scenario. Train and equip your employees to prevent corporate data breaches due to negligence, and also train them to deal with such breaches if they happen. Moving on, about 61% of organizations reported over 25% increase in cyber threats and alerts, a majority of which is contributed by new variants of malware with new attack surfaces like unmonitored or unpatched browsers, applications, and devices. This revelation clearly proves to us that traditional cybersecurity initiatives like antivirus and firewall alone isn't going to make the cut when it comes to the cybersecurity battles of today. This brings us to our third lesson. We need to formulate preventive security measures that target the various security loopholes present on our endpoints, in addition to assuring perimeter security. So let's quickly recap the 3 lessons that this pandemic has taught us regarding cybersecurity. The first one being prioritize risks and balance resources. The second one being secure BYOD or BYOI and corporate data. And the third one being focus more on endpoint security in addition to perimeter security. Organizations have by now gotten the hang of remote work and have made some really positive changes to ensure business continuity. As you can see, most of them have increased their VPN capacity and have started using multi-factor authentication to amp up security. Another positive change we see is that 48% of organizations have started focusing more on endpoint security. So this is a very refreshing shift in focus for a number of reasons, especially now, since we're looking at another big change. Offices reopening and getting devices fit to go back into production. Let us see how many of you here are ready to go back to office. I'm going to start a poll right now, so you guys can share your answers with me. You can find the poll on your screens now. Go on, you guys, put in your answers. How many of you are ready to go back to office right now? It's really great. A lot of you have voted for this question. I'm closing the polls now. As you can see, about 86% of you have said, let the work from home continue. And there's 14% that say I'm good either way. Excited or apprehensive? There are some things that the IT admins cannot ignore when it comes to security. So a heads up to all the IT admins out there, if you have offices reopening and devices coming back to your office, here's what you need to do to ensure before plugging the back to office devices into your network. Make sure you check out everything on the list that is coming up as the first level of precaution. Compliance checks, software updation, privilege and access management, revoking inessential software licenses, disabling firewall traversal, and system configuration management. Now let's take a look at them one by one. For compliance checks, so create compliance policies and check all your back to office devices based on it. Create policies that checks for malicious files or processes running on your endpoints. If such processes are detected, quarantine these endpoints and restrict their access to network resources. So this is to contain the spread of malware if your quarantined endpoints contain any. So once you've resolved the compliance issues, check with the compliance policy again. And if your system passes, you can revoke the quarantine and revoke the restrictions to access network resources. The second step is to check and install critical updates, feature packs, or the latest antivirus definition updates. So you guys might have skipped these updates while your employees were working from home due to a number of reasons, such as system unavailability or bandwidth restrictions. So once the devices are back to office, make sure that you install the critical updates and keep it updated before plugging it into your network. Let's take a look at the third item on our checklist. Create a zero trust environment. Did you know that 80% of data breaches have a connection to compromised privileged credentials? This is the first step to prevent worms within compromised computers from executing with admin privileges, creating or restricting access. So what you can do is enforce the least privilege for all your users and give admin privileges only for selected applications or on a need basis. Let's take a look at the fourth thing. So remote work would have necessitated the deployment of remote collaboration and conferencing tools. Now that once work resumes from office, they will no longer be essential. So what you can do is run an inventory scan to detect these types of applications and revoke their licenses. This will help you cut down on unnecessary costs and also storage. Let's take a look at the next thing. So the next on our checklist is to disable firewall traversals from remote hosts. So bypassing the firewall should never be allowed, since there is no way to verify if this can be trusted. So what you should do is disable the firewall traversal from remote access host on Chrome browsers of your network systems. So this will keep your remote systems from bypassing firewall and accessing your network. The final thing on our precaution checklist is system configuration management. So reset passwords, enforce complex passwords, and remedy other poor or default system configurations using a configuration management tools. Most of you might be aware that misconfigurations are most often leveraged by threat actors to worm their way into the network. So make sure that you resolve all your poor configurations as soon as possible. So like I said, the sooner you have these checked out, the faster you can deem your machines fit to work and start production. So now that we've dealt with remote work and back to office scenarios, what else does the future have in hold for us? Shifting to remote work was a curveball that nobody asked for. But people are slowly getting comfortable with this new normal. Like we saw with the poll results, about 85% of you guys still want to work from home. So the global trends say that too. Out of the people working from home now, about a quarter of them don't even want to go back to office when things clear up. But we can't really blame them though. The daily transit to and from work is an absolute nightmare. But what we should understand from this is that we're looking at a hybrid workspace moving forward. There is a very good chance that the COVID-free world might see a 50-50 instance of people working from home and working from offices. The future will find us dealing with a dynamic workforce. Whole time again, tell me guys, what according to you is the best way to deal with a hybrid workforce? So let me start the polls so that you guys can let me know your thoughts. So I've launched the poll. You can see the question on your screen now. Go on and let me know what you think is the best way to deal with a hybrid workforce. All right. I'm getting some really insightful answers. That's great. Most of you have voted, so I'm going to close the polls now. Let's take a look at the results now, shall we? So about 50% of you have said focus on endpoint security. Let me tell you guys, this is such a refreshing change. It is high time we start looking at cybersecurity beyond just network and perimeter security and start shifting our focus to endpoint security. You know, the shift in focus to endpoint security is majorly needed because of the evolving nature of threats. Apart from outsider threats such as malware, hacking, social engineering attempts, denial of service, and known vulnerabilities, we now have to deal with an array of insider threats such as privilege abuse, unintentional data leaks, and so on, and unknown vulnerabilities on top of that too. Unknown vulnerabilities being new variants of already known malware that antivirus solutions might not detect, and so on. So the best option to deal with these various types of threats would be to fortify our endpoints. Endpoints are without doubt the windows to your network. Securing them, like I said, has taken the backseat for so long. But right now, endpoint security has become more important than ever. Here's why. Establishing cybersecurity is simpler for a dynamic workforce if the endpoints are protected anywhere at any time. It is also a known fact that it takes at least a month for antivirus solutions to fully detect known malicious files in your network. So they are no longer sufficient for complete cybersecurity. The third reason is intentional or unintentional insider attacks cause more data breaches than actual outsider attacks. The fourth is patchless zero-day vulnerabilities, legacy software threats, system misconfigurations, and browser-related threats. Now, these also form a major crux of concern for admins these days. So these are but some of the reasons as to why we should start focusing more on endpoint security. But the question remains, what parts of endpoints require focus? Let me give you some insight on this. Unmonitored and unauthorized applications and browsers, irregular vulnerability assessment, improper encryption, and improper privilege management, and of course, irregular and selective patching are some of the aspects of endpoint security that require a lot more of our focus. To make it easier to keep track of, I'm going to split the aspects of endpoint security into 5 sections. Vulnerability assessment and threat mitigation, patch management, browser security, device control, and application control. So let us take a look at why we need to focus on these aspects and how it can be done one by one now. Starting with vulnerability management. So 0 days, like I mentioned before, are tricky as they are publicly disclosed without a patch solution and are very easy to exploit. They are predicted to increase to 1 per day by 2021. System misconfigurations such as weak or default passwords are also hard to keep track of in organizations with thousands of endpoints. So what do you need here? What you need here is a solution that regularly scans endpoints for vulnerabilities, detects system misconfigurations, and suggests remedy for them, has an alternate fix for 0 days before the patch hits the market, gives clear visibility into high-risk software, antivirus, and codes running in your network. So ManageEngine's Vulnerability Manager Plus is one such solution. Let me quickly show you guys how the console of Vulnerability Manager Plus looks. So right now, I'm on the console of Vulnerability Manager Plus. So all of our solutions are web-based. So you can access them from anywhere. All you need is the host name or the IP address of the machine on which you have installed the server, followed by the port details. And you can access them anywhere. So as you can see, we have very insightful graphs right here about the vulnerabilities based on their severity, age, high priority, and high-risk software. You can also find that we have the latest cybersecurity news listed just a click away. So Vulnerability Manager Plus regularly scans your endpoints to detect vulnerabilities, such as, oh, I've been logged out, let me log in quickly again. Just give me a few seconds, guys. All right, we're in again. So like I said, Vulnerability Manager Plus scans regularly for software vulnerabilities. As you can see right here, we have a separate section for zero-day vulnerabilities with alternate fixes before the patches hit the market. We also have a section that gives you all the system misconfigurations on your network. For instance, you can see how the password policy is not secure in 4 of the computers on your network, and so on. We also have clear visibility into the high-risk software running in your network, and also the ports that are open. When it comes to ports, you guys, like I mentioned before, there are some zero-day vulnerabilities wherein the workaround was to block a particular port or stop a particular port from running. So in cases such as that, you can easily find the ports that are open and running in your network and stop the instances running on these ports. So one particular advantage about Vulnerability Manager Plus is the fact that apart from vulnerability assessment, it also comes with patch management. Many vulnerability solutions in the market don't provide this. They just provide you vulnerability assessment, but they do not come with patch management too. But in Vulnerability Manager Plus, you can also find the patches for the vulnerabilities. Let me take you back to the software vulnerabilities. So as you can see, you have a column that tells you the patch availability. So if you have a vulnerability with a patch available, all you have to do is click and install patch. And this vulnerability will be successfully patched on your affected system. So that is how easy we have made vulnerability management and patch management for you guys. That's it. Let's go back to our presentation. Next up, we have patch management. So most admins feel that there are just too many updates released. It becomes quite overwhelming, and when it does, chances of missing out on critical patches are very high. Now this opens up your network to attacks aimed at exploiting such unpatched vulnerabilities. So what do you need here? You need a solution that will completely automate your patch management process, including the testing of patches. A solution that aids in remote patch management to cater to a hybrid workforce. One that supports heterogeneous platforms like Windows, Mac, and Linux, and third-party patch management as well. It should also have flexible deployment policies that you can tailor according to your organization's requirement, and also help with the deployment of feature updates and driver and BIOS updates. So at ManageEngine, we have patch solutions that cater to all user environments. So if you're looking out for a complete patch management solution, you can opt for Patch Manager Plus. However, if you are an SCCM user struggling with third-party patch management, you can go with Patch Connect Plus. So Patch Connect Plus integrates with SCCM and helps in third-party patch management. We have recently introduced new features like Intune application management for Patch Connect Plus as well. So now let me take you to the console of Patch Manager Plus and show you how it eases out your entire patching process. So right here, I have the console for Patch Manager Plus. Like I told you before, we have very insightful reports right here on the dashboard. So you don't have to go searching a lot for the deployments that you have created and for your system health status and so on. Now let's take a look at how to completely automate your testing and patching process. Before that, this Patch Manager Plus solution scans your endpoints for missing patches and lists all the missing patches with the endpoints that are missing them right here. So as you can see, you have all the missing patches and the systems missing them listed right here. This is a very comprehensive report we provide right here. Also, we have a separate tab for critical vulnerabilities because we know how important it is to prioritize and patch. Now let me show you how we completely automate the testing and deployment process. So once you go to deployment, you have the option to test and approve patches right here. So it's really important to test your patches before you deploy them in bulk because some of the patches might misbehave in your environment. It might not be compatible with some of the applications that you might be running. So it's always better to create a pilot group of computers with all the types of systems that you use in your environment. Test the patches on this pilot group of computers, and once they've been successfully tested and approved, you can deploy them in bulk. That way, you can avoid major mishaps. It's like they say, no patching, it's actually bad patching is worse than no patching, right? So let me show you how to create a group. So just go ahead and add a group. So you can select the platform on which you want your testing group to be on. So I'm going to go with Windows. You can select a group that is already created. Or you can go ahead and create a new group as well. Put all the flavors running in your environment in this test group so that you have a complete testing done. Now the next is to select the applications that you want tested. So you can go with security updates. It's up to your requirement. So select the applications that you want tested. The same goes for third-party applications and for driver updates as well. So once you've selected the applications you want tested, you can choose to deploy them at the time of your convenience. So these are test machines. So I guess I can deploy them during my work hours as well. So go ahead and pick up policy. Let's see. We have a weekend policy here. I'm going with that. You can also create your own policy or modify the existing policies as well. So once you've decided on the deployment, the next is notification. So this is like a completely optional one. You can choose to get notified or not. But the next part is the most important one. When I say that we've completely automated the testing process, this is what I mean. So once you check this automatically approved tested patches after X number of days, say 5, your patches will be tested on the pilot group of computers, and after 5 days will be automatically approved. And you can see the status approved when you check the missing patches tab. So once you give create, your test group will be created. So let me just quickly go back and show you where you can see the approval status. Just give me a few minutes, guys. Okay, we're ready. So missing patches, you can see the status of the patches right here. See, like I told you, the approval status will show approved if you have enabled that option back there. So this way you have completely automated your testing process. Now to automate your deployment, it is almost similar to creating a test group The only difference would be your target computers. Now you will be deploying in bulk to your production environment. So go ahead, click on Automate Patch Deployment. These are all tasks that are already created. So give a new task. So once you've selected that, there are 4 steps to creating an automated patch task. The first is to select the updates that you want deployed in this task. So this is similar to the test group. You just have to select the updates that you want to deploy. So give that. And you have options to patch all applications, specific applications, or to leave out applications. This is in case you have applications that you want on older versions because they're compatible and they're working fine. So in that case, you can choose to exclude those applications right there. So you can follow the same for third-party updates. You can also check antivirus updates, but we would ask you to go with a separate APD task for antivirus updates because they're really frequent and bulky. So it's better you go with a separate APD task just for antivirus updates. You can also include driver updates here and then choose to deploy after say X days from release, or the better option, X days from approval, so that you know that your patches have been tested. So once this step is done, the next is to choose a deployment policy. So we have very flexible deployment policies. So you can make policies that will suit your business requirements. Home office policy. You can view the details here. If you're not happy with that, you can go ahead and create your own policy or modify the existing policy too. We have another important option right here, that is to suspend task after a particular time. So this is especially helpful if your offices are reopening. Let's say you're creating remote patch tasks for your remote machines, and maybe after 2 months or after a month, the office reopens. So you can just suspend the remote office patch tasks that you have created, and then you can create new tasks for your back to office machines. So once that is done, the third is to define a target. So as I said, you can choose to deploy this to your production environment. If you have a remote group, remote employees, you can also deploy to them. So I'm going to go with remote office now. The next is to configure notification. You can choose to get notified about the deployment status or failure in case if there's any. So once you've set all this and given save, you've successfully created an APD task, and every time there is a security or non-security updates, whatever you have selected here, this APD task will keep running iteratively. So this is just a one-time task. All you have to do is set it and forget about it. With that said, let me take you back to the presentation now. We're looking at the third pillar of endpoint security, which is browser security. Take a look at this case, guys. A malicious Google Chrome extension called CCP Cache, which promised to give users up to 5% cash back on all of their cryptocurrency transactions, in actuality did nothing but steal login credentials and cryptocurrency. Google had it removed from its extension store, but not before hackers managed to make off with over $81 million. This is just the tip of the iceberg. There are various malicious extensions and add-ons that, in the promise of improving your browser's experience, makes it a whole lot worse. So what you need in a situation like this is a solution that will manage browser plugins, extensions, and add-ons, filter URLs, and restrict downloads from unauthorized sites, leverage browser security settings to prevent phishing attacks, ensure browser compliance, manage bookmarks, and check website browser compatibility. So ManageEngine's Browser Security Plus does all of this and a lot more. Let me show you on a console. So we're looking at the third aspect of cybersecurity, and that's browser security. So right now, I'm on our Browser Security Plus console. You can see graphs. And if you take a look here, you can see malicious extensions running in your network listed right here. So you don't even have to go searching for reports. You can take them from right here. Click on them and you can find the extensions and the system they're running in. Let me log in again. So like I was saying, you can just click on this and immediately be taken to a page that will give you the malicious extensions and the systems on which they're running. You can drill down, go check out the system. Look at that. That is how simple it is. As for the others, you can create policies to enhance your browser security. Let me quickly show you how you can do this. So for threat prevention, just go ahead, create a policy, choose whatever you want included in this particular policy. For instance, you can enable the phishing filter, you can restrict file downloads, you can restrict unsigned IE plugins, and so on. So put whatever you want into the policy and give save and publish. So once you do that, your policy will be created right here. You can just go ahead and deploy this to computers or to group of computers. It is that simple. So you can do the same for data leakage prevention and for add-on management as well. Like I said, you can stop malicious extensions by preventing users from installing extensions. So you have this browser-wise, as you can see, you have Chrome, Explorer, Firefox, and Edge. So you can blacklist extensions so that you don't end up in a mess because of malicious extensions. So likewise, you have the option to filter URLs, like I mentioned in the presentation. You can block unauthorized sites. Right there, so you block malicious sites, third-party sites that inject code. Go ahead and enter the URLs that you want blocked right here, and they'll be blocked. You can also create a group of websites and block them, blacklisted social media group, like the ones that have already been created. All you have to do is save and publish this and deploy it to all of your target machines. Browser security has been made that simple. Additionally, you can also check out compliance. Browser compliance with standards such as STIG, CIS. What's more, you can go ahead and create your own compliance policy specific to your organization. So go ahead, name it according to your organizational requirements. Check the boxes that you want your systems to be compliant of, and just give save. So now you can check your systems on a custom-made compliance policy for your organization. So let me take you back to the presentation now. And let's take a look at the fourth pillar of cybersecurity, which is device control. Have you guys heard of the parking lot experiment? If not, a group of researchers dropped nearly 300 USB sticks on the University of Illinois campus and measured who plugged in the drives. They found that users picked up, plugged in, and clicked on files in 48% of the drives that were dropped. Do you know how quickly this happened? The first drive was connected in under 6 minutes. That's how easy it is for attackers to enter your network. Leave a USB stick lying around and let the employee's curiosity do the rest. To prevent such events, you need a solution that will identify the entry of unknown peripheral devices and block their access, provide secure and exclusive access to known and trusted devices, restrict file transfer through peripheral devices, and monitor file transfer in and out of endpoints and help analyze device and user behavior. So you can enjoy the benefits of complete device control at the best price with ManageEngine's Device Control Plus. So here's how the console looks. Let me quickly take you and show you the console of Device Control Plus. So again, we have very interactive dashboards that will right away give you the policies that you've configured, the devices that are blocked, and the file transfers in and out of your network. So creating policies here is real simple, you guys. Go to the policies. Let me quickly log in again. Right. So go to the policies section and you have create policy. Click on that and you can see a list of peripheral devices mentioned right here. We have a really long list of peripheral devices. So click on one, let's say movable storage device, and you can choose to allow the device or block the device. Once you choose to allow the device, you have further options to restrict it from copying files. You can also give it only read access. That way, even though you have allowed access, you are containing the damage that this device can cause in your organization. Additionally, to keep all of your data safe, you can also enable file shadowing so that a copy of the file is stored on your network share. So you can go ahead and do the same with other peripheral devices too. You can straight up go and block devices and so on. So once you've configured this for the set of peripheral devices that might be used in your network, go ahead and set the audit settings. So monitor device activities all the time, and you can generate report of these activities at the frequency of your requirement. Additionally, you can also immediately send the blocked device details to your server so that there is immediate action after you've configured your policy. So once you've done this, give save and publish, and your policy will be created. So once the policy is created, the next step is to deploy the policy. That is, associate this policy with a group of computers. So I'm going to associate the policy with a group of computers. Let's go with team A, group of computers. So these are the policies that are already created. Let's go with block removable storage devices and so on. So once you've done that, all the computers in this custom group, team A, will not be able to access any removable storage devices plugged into their system. That is how secure you can make your network. So once you give publish, the policy is in place. So you can create a trusted group of devices too. Like for instance, allow a particular type of device to always plug in and so on. And you can also seamlessly give temporary access. This is especially in case of people who just come in and go out of your organization very often. So you can grant them temporary access for, say, the time that they are in your network. So this is how easy device control has been made using Device Control Plus. Let's go back to the presentation now and check out the last pillar of endpoint security, which is application control. So did you know that 89% productivity loss is caused by apps used for instant messaging and gaming? I'm guilty of this, and I know most of you are too. But there is a really simple way to stop this or curb this. You can just blacklist these gaming and instant messaging apps by checking their usage. So Nisha would have already showed you in the previous section on software metering, where you can check the usage of the applications running in your network. So all you have to do is check the usage and blacklist these applications, and your productivity is back on track. So with application control, you can create dynamic lists to blacklist applications, whitelist only trusted and business critical applications, and seamlessly manage privileges at an application level. So you can do all of this from a single console with ManageEngine's Application Control Plus. Let me take you to the console and show you how user-friendly this is. So right now, I'm in the Application Control Plus console. So as you can see, we have the dashboards that give you the deployment reports, the gray listed applications. So these are applications that you can either blacklist based on their performance, or you can whitelist. So you have important graphs that give you details. As to creating lists, just go to the application control. Application groups right there. And you have options to create dedicated blacklists and whitelists right here. Give me a few seconds, guys. Having a little trouble logging in. Yeah, we're in. So once you're in, you can find options to create whitelist and blacklist. So click on that. All you have to do is select the applications. Okay, so right here, you have all the applications that is running in your network right now. So all you have to do is select the applications that you want blacklisted. And if you want applications that are not in your network right now, but the ones that should be blacklisted, even if employees download it, then all you have to do is add those applications right here. So give the type, give the vendor name, the product name, and add the applications that you want blacklisted in the future as well. So once you've created the list, the next part is simple. You just associate this list with a group of computers. So you can create, you can select from the group that you already have, or you can create a new custom group. Now select the application group, the whitelist or blacklist that you want associated with this particular group. Let's say I want Google related applications to be blocked on these computers. Select that. You also have the option to create a privileged application list. I'll be covering that in some time. So if you have a privileged application list created, you can also associate the same with this particular group by giving yes right here. So we have two modes of running. You can either run it in audit mode, in which case whitelisted as well as gray listed applications will run. So based on usage, you can decide where you want the gray listed applications in the future, if you want to move them to blacklist or to the whitelist. If you choose to run this in strict mode, you will only be allowing whitelisted applications to run. So according to your business requirements, you can choose the mode in which you want to run the applications. So that's it. Once you've created that, you've successfully blacklisted or whitelisted applications in your network. So let me quickly show you what privilege management does as well. So like I said, you can create an application list with admin privileges. So right now, give standard user privileges to all your applications and only give admin privileges to specific applications. So you can also select the specific applications from right here. The applications that you want to give admin privileges to, so that any user who runs this application will be running it in admin mode. So once you do that and give save list, your privileged application list has also been created. You can associate this list too with custom groups like I showed. So let us go back to the presentation now. So now that we've spoken at length about the nuances of endpoint security, let's have a quick poll. Tell me guys, what are the major problems that you face while using multiple solutions for securing endpoints? So let me quickly open the poll for you. I have launched the poll, you guys. Come on, tell me, what are the major problems you face while using multiple solutions for securing endpoints? I'm really eager to see your responses for this one. All right. A lot of you are voting. Okay, most of you have voted, so I'm going to close the poll right now. Let's take a look at the results. So 14% of you say higher cost of ownership, and 86% of you say that you face all the problems mentioned above. I couldn't agree more with you guys. It's actually all of the problems above and more. I mean, it's great that there are solutions in the market for all of your needs, but having multiple solutions would be a little too much to maintain, don't you think? You need to sync their schedules so that they don't overlap. Different vendors will have different solutions, which might not be compatible with each other. You will just end up investing a lot of money and effort into something that was supposed to make things easier for you. But at ManageEngine, we are constantly striving to make endpoint management and security simpler for users. So with respect to that, we decided to bridge the age-old gap between endpoint management and endpoint security by giving our flagship unified endpoint management product, Desktop Central, security capabilities. So you might be familiar with Desktop Central and its capabilities from the first session today. Just to recap, Desktop Central is our unified endpoint management solution. And as a latest addition, we have developed an endpoint security add-on for Desktop Central. So the endpoint security add-on comprises of vulnerability management, browser security, application control, device control, and BitLocker management as well. So I showed you the consoles of the standalone products we have for these 4 aspects, right? So additionally to this endpoint security add-on, we have added BitLocker management as well. So BitLocker is a native device that is found in most of the Windows OS. So individually going and manually enforcing BitLocker encryption is easy. But when it comes to an organization with numerous endpoints, it is not quite feasible to go manually encrypt or enable BitLocker in each device. So you need to be able to do this from a single console. And with that in mind, we have brought in BitLocker management also as part of this endpoint security add-on. So with this add-on, we have efficiently combined the benefits of 5 aspects of endpoint security under a single add-on. So this aims to provide holistic endpoint protection by proactively focusing on areas that are neglected by traditional antivirus and endpoint security solutions. Like I mentioned earlier, unmonitored devices, browsers, and so on. So with the addition of this add-on, we are actually amping up the ability of Desktop Central to effectively not only manage, but also secure the managed endpoints. So with this add-on, Desktop Central becomes a complete, wholesome solution that can handle all the security concerns of your enterprise endpoints, which previously required the use of multiple solutions. So to put it into simple words, Desktop Central enabled with the endpoint security add-on equals to complete endpoint management and security, importantly, from a single console. Seems very interesting, right? You can approach our support team anytime to try out this solution. I will also be giving you a very brief demo or console explanation towards the end of the session. So like I told you earlier, we're constantly working towards providing pocket-friendly, user-friendly endpoint management and security solutions. And reducing the gap between endpoint management and security like this has been a significant step we have taken towards this particular goal. So with that, we come to the end of the session on endpoint security. You might have chanced upon our various solutions in the course of the session. So I'll give you a clear, concise overview of them now. So our endpoint management and security solutions can be split into management and security sections. So under management, we have Desktop Central, Mobile Device Manager Plus, OS Deployer, Remote Access Plus. Under security, like we saw, we have Patch Manager Plus, Patch Connect Plus, Browser Security Plus, Vulnerability Manager Plus, Device Control Plus, and Application Control Plus. Very quickly, let's take a look at the management solutions. So Desktop Central, like Nisha would have mentioned in the previous section, is our flagship unified endpoint management solution. So you can handle client management, mobile device management, OS deployment, and modern management with DC. Further, like I mentioned right now, with the security add-on, you will further be able to ensure endpoint security with Desktop Central as well. So Desktop Central is available on-premise and on cloud. We also have a Desktop Central MSP, especially for MSPs. Moving on to Mobile Device Manager Plus. Don't compromise on security for mobility of your devices. With Mobile Device Manager, you can manage mobile devices, apps, email, and content. You can also containerize data and enforce very strict security policies. So manage smartphones, laptops, tablets, desktops, and multiple operating systems such as iOS, Android, Windows, Mac OS, and Chrome OS with Mobile Device Manager Plus. So this solution is available on premises and on cloud as well. So next we have OS Deployer. In the previous session, Nisha gave you a console overview of this OS Deployer as well. So with this solution, you don't have to spend too much time on OS deployment across your network. You can do it in 3 simple steps. First, create an OS image. Second, customize the image for deployment. And third, deploy it on your endpoints. It is as simple as that with OS Deployer. As for the next solution, we have Remote Access Plus. So this is the go-to tool for all remote troubleshooting. Extremely essential, especially now, as most of the endpoints are working remotely. So this solution is available on-prem as well as on cloud. Now for the endpoint security solutions. So like we discussed earlier, we have Vulnerability Manager Plus, which is our vulnerability assessment and threat mitigation solution. We have Patch Manager Plus, which is our standalone patch management solution. It supports Windows, Mac, and Linux OS and is available on-premise and on cloud. Next, we have Patch Connect Plus, which integrates with SCCM and makes third-party patching really easy. Next, we have Browser Security Plus for all your browser-related concerns. We have Device Control so that you can enforce zero data loss in your network. We also have Application Control Plus, so you can blacklist your applications, malicious applications, whitelist business critical applications, and enforce privilege management in your network. Here's something to remember this session by. So the next time you think of endpoint security, think of a bank. Banks don't just lock their outer doors every night while leaving the vault wide open. Financial institutions don't make this kind of mistake. Instead, they implement layer after layer of protection to ensure the security of their assets. A layered approach to IT security is also the only effective one and consists of multiple varied elements such as network and perimeter security, strong password policies, data access logging, comprehensive endpoint security, and effective end-user education. End-user education is also really important, you guys. So instead of just blowing about 80% of your security budget on just one element such as perimeter security, be smart and allocate resources equally to handle all elements of cybersecurity. We at ManageEngine are here, right beside you, to simplify and make your quest for complete cybersecurity fruitful and profit-friendly. That said, we're still taking questions. If you have any questions, anything at all related to security, remote work, or our products, feel free to drop them in the chat or question section and we'll get to them right away. We also offer free personalized demo for all our products. So let us know in chat if you would like one for any of our products. As a thank you for attending our session, we're giving out a few of our resources, namely an ebook on the essentials of vulnerability management, one on why browser security should be an essential part of your network. We've also compiled a white paper on ransomware trends during this pandemic, and we also have an infographic on combating endpoint management and security during COVID-19. So they are available for download in the handouts section. Do go and check them out. So with that, we come to the end of this second session on endpoint security. Thank you for joining today's session and for being really interactive. You guys were amazing. If you have any further queries, you can always reach out to me at this email ID mentioned below. It's kartika.s@manageengine.com. So the question answer session is open. Go ahead, you guys, and ask away, and we shall try to answer all your questions to the best of our ability.